Vinyl Community, Jeff here again. Time to enter a contest. Yes, I'm finally jumping on board this one. Trying to catch up with some contests at times. Some slip right by. But anyway, noticed this one the other day. Saw somebody else enter it, and I thought, I need to get on that. So I jotted down all the guidelines and gave it over the weekend to give some thought about it. But this is for Anthony and Cody down at the Metal Miners. They have hit 1,000 subscribers. And so for hitting 1,000 subscribers, Anthony had a video where they're doing a contest. And there's it's the ABC 123 contest. Here's a little Metal Miners information there if you're not familiar with them. Obviously, the name tells you it's a metal channel. So anyway, yes, ABC 123. Keeping it fairly simple, though, even, for someone with the collection like mine, it cannot be sometimes as simple to narrow things down. So we're going to be all over the place talking on this one real briefly. So yeah, anyway, he wants to see a favorite album, multiple favorite albums. That's tough. That's really tough. I have, I don't know, three or more thousand CDs and a couple thousand albums, a lot of duplicates between CDs and albums, but still lots and lots of bands, lots and lots of favorites. Any given day, favorites can be at different times. So things pop into mind when you're talking favorite bands and favorite albums. And so things just popped off the top of my head. It was Dream Theater, Scenes from Memory. So what is this, 99, I believe. So this is, to me, I'd been a Dream Theater fan since the early days, probably around the second album I discovered them. We were living in New York. And so really got into them. Those first few albums that I got into were really great. For some reason, well, I don't know for some reason, but when this one hit, it was like, I don't know, an epiphany. It was like just a high water mark, just the greatest of the greats up to that point. It just seemed like it all came together. It was a concept album. It told a story. The music was amazing. And anyway, so this album stood out as being one of the first real bright, shining lights up to this point of Dream Theater. And so, I think a favorite album, I could probably pull 100 favorite albums, but we'll suffice it to show this as being a favorite album from the band. Now, he wants us to see favorite band. Favorite band, I would say Dream Theater. So Dream Theater is a favorite band. Neil Morse, which came from the love of Dream Theater, has a lot of proggy type stuff. He's a favorite band. I talk about him all the time. But I have a lot of favorite bands. Stryper, of course we know Kiss, so I'm going to throw in Kiss as a favorite band. And mainly because of nostalgia, mainly because they were the first band I got into as a teen or preteen, actually. So they have the most longevity with me. Do I like them more than every other band? Probably not. But that's, we're talking a favorite band. So there you go. A favorite band, Dream Theater, we've already showed. Kiss, we've shown. Now, why did I pick The Elder to show as a favorite band, Kiss? Because basically this is one of the albums that most people do not like as much. It's totally outside of what Kiss normally does. But also because when it comes to album art, this is really not a great example. I mean, this is great maybe for what this album intended to be, but the overall look of what Kiss usually does on the album covers and what bands in general are doing, this does not fit in with that. And that leads us into the next question, which is C for cover art. Favorite cover art, I just mentioned Stryper, so there you go. Stryper is a favorite band, and they have lots and lots of, great albums, and this is one of their recent ones, and I love the cover art. Not a huge fan of trying to depict God in human form type things like that, but the overall imagery, the way it was done, it's really cool looking. Very much it's kind of a medieval looking vibe, kind of like a space age Lord of the Rings. I don't know. It's just a really cool way that it's been done like that. So yeah, they've had some really great artwork on recent albums, and lots of bands have lots of great cover art. Now, when it comes to covers, everybody I'm sure has different opinions on covers, and I have different likes and dislikes and things that I appreciate more. I really appreciate bands that have like a theme, or that have a character, a mascot of sorts, where every album is centered around them. I'm talking things like Eddie from Iron Maiden. You got Iron Maiden, you got Hammerfall. They have the warrior guy, and lots of bands have those type of mascots, and so every album kind of has a general similar feel. where they put that character in some kind of scenario. And so you can always expect that things by them are going to look and feel sort of similar. I'm not a huge fan of like abstract stuff where it's just like a blob of color. Of course, in the 80s, a big thing was, and maybe even still to this day, a big thing is just putting the artist on the cover. Sometimes they put stuff on there that's meant to be provocative, to catch your attention, but have nothing to do with the title or anything. So a lot of that stuff I'm not as favorable of. Then you got albums that make you think, and you're wondering what is it they're trying to get across. If the album really is a disconnect from the title, you kind of start wondering what's the deal. Is this just somebody's idea of an album cover? An album? Is this, we're going to take some art and just put on the cover regardless if it has any relation to the album? And then you got album covers like this that make you think, what are they trying to say? You kind of know I kind of know what I could see it saying, but Van Halen's right here, right now. What is trying to be said? What's the point of what they've got presented here? Does it relate to right here, right now? Is it just somebody's idea of artwork to make you think? So anyway, it can go many different ways. I mean, I know what I think could be trying to be said here. So, I don't know how that in any way relates to Van Halen. It doesn't relate to right here, right now. But things like that, artwork that kind of makes you think. I'm not a huge fan of artwork that's just grotesque for the sake of grotesque. I know that seems to be very much in line with a lot of death metal, which is what the Metal Miners cover a lot of. So they're probably very familiar with that. And some of that artwork looks really cool. Some of it is overly grotesque, and it's kind of like repulsive, which I know they're trying to get a response and a reaction. I'm not a big fan of that. It needs to have something to it, some substance to it, and not just be grotesque to be grotesque. So I'm not a big fan of that, but like I said, you'll see a lot of that in the more extreme metal fields, and I don't have a lot of that. And I know that this channel has their channel has a lot of that, so I'm not as familiar with a lot of it, but the stuff that I do see, you kind of like, well, it's cool looking, but is it really relatable to what's being contained on the inside? All right, and then so then you're into 1, 2, 3. Now, 1, they were talking about things that you'd like to see. One thing you'd like to see them do on the channel. I'm not going to throw out things because they're doing what they're doing, and I can't say you should do this or do that, because we all have different styles, and so I don't like being critical of, or not even critical. I don't like anything I say feels like it could be critical, so I don't want to say anything like that. They're covering everything, CDs and vinyl. They're all aspects of metal, and so continue doing what you're doing. I can't suggest or think of anything to suggest that would make it whatever would improve it or anything. So I'm going to kind of skip that, and hopefully that doesn't totally disqualify me. And then so we're in the 1, 2, 3. Number 2 is 2 bands you'd like to see new stuff from in 2024. Both bands already mentioned, Dream Theater and Stryper, both of which I know are working on material. The thing that's cool about the Dream Theater one, of course, this will be the first album since 2010 when Mike Portnoy left Dream Theater. This will be the first album with Mike Portnoy back. So I'm really thrilled about that, to see what that has, in store for us. And then Stryper, they've been, their last album was a year and a half ago or so. And so, yeah, a new album by them is greatly appreciated, and they're supposedly in the studio working on that now. But I did want to mention a third one, even though we're only showing two, and that's and this one kind of goes into, it kind of was favorite album way back at the first question. There are certain albums that stand out, and this stood out, not enough to put it in there, but he said you could show more than one favorite album. But Stack Attack by Rothschild is an album that has resonated. It's just fun. And it's an album that came out in 84. I bought so many. This is a glam green. There were so many different colors. I had so many different variants of this back in the day because I just loved the album. Not the best produced, not the best mixed. I'd love to hear it remixed and everything. Everything sounds real compressed. And the songs are just sleazy, fun, silliness at times. But for some reason, it really stood out and resonated with me and became an absolute favorite album. And I've loved the band. So they went in 84, and then there was a couple years of nothing. And in 89, they put an album out, and like in 1990. Whatever. Then after a couple albums, Rocky, the singer, was given the boot or left. The band kind of went inactive in the early 90s. And so, nothing. And then in 2011, Rothschild came back out with an album. I believe it was mostly original guys, but without Rocky singers. Had a different singer. Kind of felt the same, but didn't sound the same. So it was one of those things where they put out an album, tried to do it. It was a decent album. But for me, I'm one of those people that really likes these. You get used to a singer. I like keeping the singer. And so, but in 2013, Rocky put out an album with a new band. And so it kind of fulfilled that feel for wanting to hear what he was up to. Well, just last year, I believe it was last year, it was months ago where I saw heard the track, but Rocky is back in Rothschild, and so they have a new song out, and I'm hoping that leads to a new album in 2024. The song came out in 2023, so that is a band that I'd like to see something of. So that's a third one that kind of ties in with a favorite album from back in the day. So there you go, 3 bands that I'm hoping to see new stuff from in 2024. And then the 3 is 3 favorite 2023 released albums. Now, I did a video a while back on some of my favorite albums from 2023, but I'm taking a different approach to this one because Metal Miners shows a lot more of an extreme metal side. I decided to pick my 3 favorite extreme metals, albums that would fit in with the kind of stuff they show on their channel, just because I don't cover it as much, but I do buy some of it. So, and I've shown all of these at some point or another last year. So the Black Nativity by a Hill to Die Upon, Illinois death metal band. I believe they're from Illinois still. And this is sort of kind of a Christmassy album in death metal style. So this came out a couple months ago and I showed it. Great stuff. Testimony of the Apocalypse, The Offering. Death at times, maybe more of just an extreme with thrash at times, but it goes into some pretty extreme vocals. Lots of different extreme metal styles in there. Maybe it doesn't cross over into some of the realms that people, maybe I'm misjudging it, but anyway, it's one of the more extreme albums of the year that I picked up. And then War of Ages, Dominion, did I get that right? Yeah, this is more of a metalcore, so it's more new metalcore type feel. But again, one of the more extreme metal albums that I picked up in 2023. So there you go. There's 3 albums of some of my favorites and of the more extreme metal side. So there you go. Check it out. I'll have a link below for the contest video. You can jump on board this too and support these guys for hitting 1,000. Congrats, guys. We'll see you later. Rock on and rock hard.